Hello everyone, welcome to the LSI F1.5 EU Championship. We're today for the Singapore Grand Prix, Season 12. Come on, let's get it. We have currently got a few minutes left of qualifying. It's Verf 26.722 or 27.291 for Jericho Willis, who is a little way behind at the moment, but still, there is time to go. 10 minutes on the clock to try and improve. We've got Terence on a lap. We're going to get an impede moment as Terence is trying to qualify, but unfortunately, Verf has just got in the way of that one. Terence isn't going to be happy, hoping for a good result. They haven't had the best of times around this circuit in the past. 2 DNFs in a row last time around, but they have finished P4 here beforehand as well, so they can definitely do well. They know that they can do, but we'll see. Currently, P6, no lap time on the board. DRS available. They may get a bit of a distant tow from the car ahead, but probably nothing really too major. It's of course, Verf, who was slightly up ahead and maybe a little bit distracting to Terence. Hopefully there wasn't a massive problem. There is going to be a very, very distant tow from the McLaren car, but other than that, they're not going to get a massive amount of problems, so it will be all good. What is Terence going to get as they cross the line to set their first lap of the session? It's a P3 there for Terence. Lovely stuff. Indeed, Verf currently holding that top spot as they start their next lap to try and defend their position, but it's Jericho Willis who is going to want to try and have a go at taking this one away. They haven't got a pole position so far this season, and I'm not sure if they've ever had a pole position. No, they haven't ever had a pole position in their career, so could they try and find that here today? That would be a hell of an effort. Just to clarify, we have had pole positions from Verf 4, and that was 2 from last season and 2 out of the first 2 races of this season. We are now in round 3. They've had a brilliant run of form. However, the victories have been going to Jericho Willis, who's got a 100% win rate. Just double checking. Everything is good, and we should be fine. Welcome to the grid versus teammate Texi. They've had a few technical difficulties, but I think they're back in the lobby, so hopefully they're good to go. We've got Jericho Willis crossing the line to try and improve and get up towards where Verf currently is. It is a 26.8. That's more like it, nice and close, but here goes Verf around the final few corners. What's it going to be for the Hungarian? 2, almost 3/10 improvement right there with a 0.4 to take it away. Absolutely awesome. Terence sits in that P3 spot. Then we've got Zora. Brett is cool. Red Winter has just taken Zora's P4 spot, a 27.9 on the board for them. Got to find a bit more time to get to Terence. There's still a pretty good job there from Terence with that lap time so far. Of course, we said Zora. Brett is cool, P6. And then we do have the 2 higher tier drivers. Heischler, higher tier driver at the back of the pack. And then Texi turns up to the grid, and they're going to try and not have any more technical difficulties, but they had a crash when they went into the pit lane, and hopefully things can go a bit better from here. They're on their out lap, and they'll be able to set their first lap of the session at some point in a few moments time. 6 minutes on the clock. Verf looking very strong and looking to try and finally take a victory. Now, if we do take a look back at what happened last race, it was a very, very straightforward looking race if you look at the timing sheets for Verf without the penalties, but unfortunately Verf had a speeding penalty for entering the pit lane. That was 10 seconds added onto their final time. They did actually finish just over 6 seconds ahead of all the other current tier drivers, but they weren't able to do enough to break away fully. So yeah, they definitely are going to be wanting to try and get a victory this time around, fighting for victories in both Austria and in Zandvoort, but no victories have come about for them. Jericho Willis has taken that glory. They're in the pit lane, and they'll be coming out at some point soon. Terence out on track once again, currently holds that P3 spot. As we said before, they've had a few DNFs. Actually, that last time, last season DNF was because in a few moments' time, as we get to, I believe it's turn 8 on the exit, there was just a bit of desync, and unfortunately their car hit the wall here, and it meant that their race was over. It wasn't really their fault. They didn't actually hit the wall on our screen, and I don't think they hit the wall on their screen. Their wheel just fell off. So hopefully Terence doesn't have the same issues as they did, and they can have a bit of a better result for sure. We'll see how that goes. Tom Robb disqualifies to start at the back of the field, as they are a higher tier driver, and it does make sense to do such a thing. Of course, Samaxon will, I assume, be doing the same thing very shortly as well. And Texi's going to try and get a lap in to see if they can get further up the order. They're currently going through that middle section of the circuit, and they'll go into the hairpin. And we'll see what they can do on the lap times as we go down the DRS straight, and then the sector time will come up. We won't see a lap time versus their current lap time, as they haven't set one just yet, but we will see a sector time. That is a 1:05 point. I've already missed the point, but they continue, and they go on a nice wide berth to try and avoid the bumps on the circuit, and braking at 75 meters. Turning in to the final chicane, avoiding going too hard over the curbs as they can unsettle it, and then the final two. Be careful that you don't exceed track limits on the exit, and unfortunately they have just done so. A 30.903 it would have been a P7, but that is very, very unfortunate to have those little moments at the very end of the lap be the ones that make the difference of you being able to actually set it or not. Very, very frustrating, but they've still got more time in this session to go, of course. And currently a lot of cars are in the pit lane. We've got Terence, who is currently out on a lap, so we will go and check on board with the Hong Kong driver very shortly. Just want to double check something, and then we'll be good to go. Awesome, lovely stuff. Okay, staying here with Terence, who goes into the final sections of the lap. Just one double check, and we are good. Terence, what's it going to be? It's going to be the pit lane. A 27.5 will stay their time. 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes on the clock right now. And I think everybody should have enough time to go out again. But it is going to be a little bit of a tight one for Terence. It's going to be virtually impossible for Texi to be able to do such a thing. But Verf, we've got Zora, and many other cars will be on their way out of the pit lane to try and set an improvement here. Jericho Willis will be looking to try and take the top spot away from their rival this season so far. Zora looking for a good result as well that they've not really been able to find after a few issues here and there. They did get the fastest lap in the last race at Zandvoort, but they want to try and get a podium if they can. So Maxon disqualifies to go to the back of the pack as well, so we will see all the higher tier drivers further down. We've got Texi having more connection issues, unfortunately, so I don't quite know what's going on with that, but hopefully they can get back in for one more time and see if it works out. Always seems to be when they go into the pit lane, so that's an interesting correlation. It's all going to be about Verf, who will start their final lap of the session, and it will be their final lap of the session. There won't be another opportunity to get any more improvements in. Zora and Verf can spread themselves out a little bit. That's an interesting tyre warming technique. A little bit of lag kicking in to make that look pretty interesting. Verf will start their lap. What's it going to look like from Verf as we go DRS down into turn 1? You're going to turn in nice and hard on entry to try and cut that first apex, and then through turn 2 and 3, avoiding track limits if you can. Smooth on the throttle in third, open up that steering, and you go through 4 and 5 on the entry as you try to make sure that you tap the inside curve a little bit. It can throw you off if you're not careful, and then pull it right to the right hand side to minimize track distance. Braking hard for 7, and once again trying to ride those curves, just using everything available to you. Scrubbing the tires here a little bit to get some extra friction to slow that car down, as you can do so in this game. Using the energy as well to maximize that deployment throughout the lap, and on the mini straights. We go through the Singapore sling section, a bit of a correction, but it's not really too much of a problem. They should be good into the hairpin, and now hard turning once again with that little bit of tyre scrub. DRS open for the final time before the line. What's it going to look like on the sector times? It's almost a tenth and a half up on their previous best as they go all the way to the track limits on exit. Down the little straight, they're going to try and use the rest of the battery that they can, but it's not really going to be that straightforward. They have run out towards the final stages. It could cost them lap time. The final few corners it will be for Verf in the Sauber. Is it going to work out as they hoof it to the left? It's going to be an improvement by 2.5 tenths almost. Jericho Willis will not fight back as they invalidate their lap time. Terence is going to give it a shot. Zora P4, Rare Winter P5. Bread is cool is going to come around the final few corners. No, that's the other McLaren, sorry, already finished on their lap. Sorry, that's Jericho Willis, sorry, with the invalidation, of course. It's going to be Terence who will set the lap time next, and then it will be Breda's call. What can Terence do here? Currently crossing that line, it's almost dead on their time, so they can find a little bit more here, and they might be able to have a look at getting to Jericho. But I think with the current situation of their time, to find the sheer gap that they would have to find now would be very, very difficult to do so, as Terence is going to invalidate that lap, and it's not going to come to anything in the end. We're going to get Breda's call, though. Come around the final few corners. They're going to finish the qualifying session, and they're going to make it a P3 right behind their teammate. A brilliant job, as Terence didn't get that valid lap in, and it did cost them in the end. Verf is on pole position for the second time in a row here in F1.5 at Singapore. That is Verf on pole position, Jericho Willis in P2, Breda's called P3. That's the rest of the grid. We'll go through the race director just in case, and then we will be back for the race. We'll see you in a bit. Ready? Hold! Go! Who's going to get it into turn one? Verf on the outside line. Will they have the advantage over Jericho Willis, who has the inside? Jericho won't quite get there, but they still have the inside. There's contact. A big oversteering moment for the championship leader. All of a sudden they were round as there's a correction and a moment of contact. Zora trying to have a go on Terrence, who gets into P2 after all of the chaos right there. Rare Winter down in P4, and there's the Ferrari of Tom Rob already making progress with Samaxon and Heisler as well. They've managed to make some good progress, but it's both McLarens down the order off the start right there. Texi unfortunately having technical difficulties and will not get into the race. There's contact between Samaxon and Heisler. That's going to allow Brothers Cool to get back through and try and focus on this race, but Jericho Willis is going to have to try and relax and catch some momentum back, because that was a pretty poor start right there from them. Some very unfortunate oversteer just meant it all went a little bit wrong. It's Verf who's had some sort of issue, maybe lag, I don't quite know, but it's allowed Terrence to get into the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix, and Terrence leads once again in LSI. Absolutely phenomenal stuff right here on lap 1, and they're going to start lap 2 in P1. Zora wants to try and have a go on the Sauber as well, but they're just going to show their nose, and other than that they can't do anything about it. They've got pressure from Rare Winter behind, and then the higher tier drivers are trying to come through if they can. It's a very, very quick top train already at the moment, with Terrence leading the way. A 34 lap time right there to set the first and fastest lap of the session, but that will change as we go into the Grand Prix. Verf is going to want to try and get that top spot back, as the championship rival has again had a pretty bad start to the race. This time they have a brilliant opportunity to make it work. Can they just do that? That's Tom Robb looking to the inside of Rare Winter, who's actually got damage I didn't realise. So to be in the position that they're in, they're actually having a phenomenal race right now. Their pace is looking pretty good, all things considered. Of course, the higher tier drivers are going to try and make their way through if they can, with as little impact as possible. Heisler gets ahead of Brothers Cool, and Jericho Willis is going to be trying to catch up. The two McLarens going from hero to zero, getting the 1-2 in the Netherlands, the only team to get double points for the team championship this season so far. Of course, this is only race 3. That is Tom Robb going for the send. There's a bit of more contact. They're going to try and get him on the exit if they can, I guess, but no, it's going to actually allow Samaxon to go through, and Samaxon's going to try and make that move unless they go fighting once again. But no, Tom Robb doesn't go to the inside this time, and things would maybe change a little bit. Rare Winter 1 second away. That could be DRS done, as the top 3 are looking very strong. Zora goes over track limits but still gets the fastest lap. It's going to be taken away by Heisler, who's on that soft tyre and trying to go a little bit different on the strategy here and stay out of trouble where they can, be aggressive, make the moves, and then go into the pit lane later on. Will that work out for them? I don't quite know. Once again, Rare Winter, very, very on the knife edge, but still didn't get the DRS. Just missed out. Samaxon's going to go to the inside line, and they're just going to have to let that one happen. I think they're still going to try and make it side by side, but Samaxon with the momentum and with no damage, they are going to be able to hold on nicely. Tom Robb has to back off as they didn't really find an opportunity, and they will just have to wait behind the Red Bull driver. For now, there's almost contact as Tom is trying to push with everything they can, but it's not quite working. It is, however, allowing Brothers Cool to catch up. Their former teammate, their fellow countryman, but not their teammate anymore, their rival in the championship, I should say. P3 in the championship for Rare Winter, 1 point away from Verf. Very strong start to the season with a podium to their name. They got a podium here on debut in Singapore last season. What can they do this time around? Even though it doesn't look so simple with the damage, can they make it work? Tom Robb's going to want to try and make a move at some point soon if they can. As we see, Terrence continuing to lead the way on the medium tyre. The hards for Verf, they should have a pretty good chance at this race, but it did seem to be that maybe starting on the medium tyre was the more beneficial strategy yesterday. It just changed a little bit later on with the safety car, and currently Terrence is well, still making everything work that he needs to do right now. The top three are doing everything that they need to at the moment. Woodworth try and challenge into turn 7. It looks like they might give it a shot. They go to the outside line, but they didn't actually want to go for the move, so they will just bunch up a little bit. So Maxon in the meantime will catch. Because of that, it's going to be side by side with Tom Robb and Rare Winter. Tom Robb now has the inside line, but he breaks a little bit early to try and avoid contact. Contact's going to happen. Damage is going to be dealt. Rare Winter's going to go down the order, and behind the McLaren, Heischler backs off to try and let everything balance itself out. And now that is contact, damage to another car, and a position lost for Rare Winter. That was an interesting situation to be in there, and I assume there's going to be a few people that are not too happy with that one, except from Brothers Cool, who's just made a lovely move, and now they're going to try and make some more progress. They're on that medium tyre. Their tyre's going to be a little bit faster later on into this stint compared to Tom Robb, unless they get damage on the wall by doing something like that. They can't do that again. I'm absolutely perplexed at how they've not got more damage than they currently have. Very close there with Heischler. I think Heischler's got damage. I don't know if that was from earlier or if it was just from then, as there was a bit of movement from the McLaren, and now the Alpine isn't going to be too pleased with that one, using the energy to try and see if they can make a move and put some progress on this race. And they are going to go side by side. There's a bit of an off moment. They're still trying to turn in, but there is a car to their inside, so they have to watch out. And look at all of this. Who's it brought back into this race? Jericho Willis, P9, and at the back of the pack. There is a massive gap, of course. There's 2 trains in this race. This is the second train, but there are still moves being made, and it's the teammate of Jericho Willis who's trying to have a go again on Heischler, the higher tier driver. They do make the move work, and now Jericho Willis, well, they've got a full front wing, and they're going to try and find a way through if they can. They've got a lot of battery, and it's actually Heischler who's going to let them go, as Heischler, well, they have not really much of a front wing, so they want to just try and allow their teammate to, the championship leader and the championship contender to have a go at what they can do. Of course, there's a mistake there for Brothers Cool on the wall, but nothing really too severe. Jericho Willis is going to be brought into the mix, as they are going to have a brilliant move with a bit of team orders. I don't know if there was communication or if it was just a heat of the moment maneuver from Brothers Cool to allow his teammate to go through, and he's going to continue to try and fight the Alpine, but didn't quite get there. I don't think he realizes he doesn't need to fight a higher tier driver. He can work together with them, but regardless, they work together with their teammate nicely, and now they are P7, looking to try and have a go at P6 very, very soon, as that is Zora dropping behind Tom Robb. So I'm not entirely sure what happened there. Rare Winter gets a time penalty. That's now Zora and Rare Winter both with time penalties. Jericho Willis hoping to try and make this move stick if they can, as they go through the corner. Damage is on that Red Bull. You can't blame them at all for carrying that little speed through the corner, but we go through 6 and into 7, and I might even get the move done before. It's not going to be that simple. There's a bit of movement. I don't know what's going on, but Heischler has ended up in front out of all of this. Rare Winter trying to have a go, but no, it's not going to work out, and the championship leader knows that it's very important to keep all 4 wheels on that car in their situation at the moment. Rare Winter is, of course, P3 in the championship. They're only, what is that, 13 points away from the championship leader. They could have an opportunity, but they didn't quite go for it this time around. Their teammate is just waiting behind at the moment. Brothers Cool can't do anything about it at the moment. Both McLarens without any damage. Maybe Bread has a little bit that we can't see on screen right now due to the collision with the wall that they had on the exit of turn 14 as we've just passed it. But other than that, they just still can't quite find a way through. Brothers Cool gets a time penalty. It's going to be Tom Robb into the pit lane, and I don't know if Heischler's also gone for that. No, they haven't. They've stayed out. They've decided to stay in the mix for now, as Rare Winter now has more damage to that car. No end plates at all. It is just a flat wing at the moment, and Jericho Willis surely should have a go at making this move. That being said, in the previous games with damage, it has given you a straight line speed advantage, advantage. I don't know if it still gives you a straight line speed advantage or not, though. That is a massive clout to the wall from Jericho Willis, who goes to the inside line. Is going to try and make it stick this time. It's still going to be side by side, but not having the aero performance is Rare Winter to maintain it, and that will be the move made, and it will also allow Brothers Call to go through a double McLaren overtake. That is brilliant stuff right there. They tried to fight as hard as they could, did Rare Winter. They did fight as hard as they could, and I mean, they could maybe deem it successful, even though they've got a lot of damage, and there are a few instances that they're involved in, and that's going to be Zora Round. Zora Round into the bridge section. Unfortunately, they're back into it, but that is really, really frustrating for their race. Being in the top 3 train, they're now going to have to try and think of something a little bit different. Time penalty wise for them, 3 seconds. It's also for Winter and Brothers Call as well. We've still got a long way to go in this race, so they can't afford to get too many more, but it does allow time for others to maybe get some penalties. It's Samaxon ahead of Terence now, as Terence tyres do start to die off, but he's still with the leader, of course, as they do make a bit of a mistake. They may have just lost DRS if they're not careful there, but they are still with the leader of the tier currently, who is Verf in the Sauber. A big loss of traction there for Samaxon on the rear. Would Samaxon try and go for the move? Regardless, they're going to go to the inside line, and Verf is possibly going to let that one happen unless they go side by side. It's not worth it. They do back off. It allows Terence to catch up a little bit more. Terence is going to be loving this at the moment. Absolutely loving it. Heischler, P4 on that soft tyre. Their tyres aren't going to get any quicker, and Jericho Willis, Brothers Call, are going to try and follow on as soon as they possibly can. In the meantime, Rare Winter has gone into the pit lane for a fresh set of tyres and a new front wing on lap 8 out of 31. This battle here is pretty close indeed, but with a higher tier driver in the mix of Samaxon, it's really about Terence and Verf. And looking at the tyre situation that both of these cars have, of course, it is definitely pro Verf as of now, but from yesterday, with the 2 Mercedes opting to start on that medium tyre, is it going to be more beneficial in the long run to Terence? We do know that this medium tyre doesn't really last as long as the hard tyre, so maybe it is the better tyre after all. I don't quite know. We're going to get Heischler into the pit lane as they make it a little bit of a later call on that soft tyre, and Tom Robb will probably make that move ahead of them. It is going to be a front wing change for both of these cars, so they should have exactly the same pit stop time. It is all about the undercut that Tom should have got here on Heischler, their fellow higher tier rival for today, getting the fastest lap just to prove that. And then Heischler, as you can see, they exit the pit lane as Tom goes into the first corner, and they are going to have to find a little bit more in this. They have 2 lap old or 2 lap fresher tyres. Would that be a decent advantage? That's going to be Rare Winter getting a 3-second time penalty, but they do have a full front wing, and they're now going to try and make some progress on this severe undercut that they're going to be looking for. They're not hoping to go into the pit lane again. They're just trying to put some absolute lap times in to see if they can make it work. Could they get another podium here for a second time around? Terence holds on to DRS as Samaxon broke away from Verf, meaning that Verf had to fight on their own against Terence, of course. We saw Verf very close to Devon Young and Samaxon in the Netherlands for a while. They were holding on to their DRS range, just working together with the higher tier drivers, but eventually it broke away, and then they lost out, of course, to that 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So far, we haven't got to the pit stops for these guys, so they don't need to worry about that just yet, but Terence, they're holding on, and they're still putting a bit of a threat. Really, really good effort from Terence here, considering all the circumstances with their tyres, and they should, according to my theory, be quicker later on at the very final stages of the Grand Prix. Of course, Verf will have the advantage when they leave the pit lane, and they will be very, very dangerous tyres to be on. It just depends on how hard that drop-off is for Verf. Verf had a very difficult time around here last time with the strategy, losing the victory. They don't want to lose the victory again. They do not want to lose the victory again. Jericho Willis, P4 now. Of course, a few cars ahead making those pit stops, but they're bringing their teammate with them. And this is P3 for the current tier drivers as well. So they are doing a brilliant job for the championship. This is exactly what they need to be doing after a mistake like they've had in the beginning of the race. Ultimately, they wouldn't have wanted to make that mistake in the beginning of the race, but it is what it is, and they've just got to deal with the situation, and currently they are doing just that. Lap 10 out of 31, about to start lap 11 out of 31. Terrence stays out, not going into the pit lane. Could we see Jericho Willis or Brett is called going to the pit lane? Is that a yellow? That would be a yellow for who? I don't know. Would that have been Tom? I'm not entirely sure, but no, there is no safety car to be pulled out. It is just going to be Tom going for that move. Maybe it was just the AI car that was yellow for a moment there, getting out the way. I'm not entirely sure. It's Zora and Rare Winter, who are very close to one another, but not quite side by side. Unless we've missed some racing, that could be something that maybe we have missed, and I do apologise if we have done so. But these guys are going to try and, of course, focus on getting that undercut, as that is Heischler going ahead of the disconnected car. The disconnected car will be classed as disconnected at the end of this race, so they will not score any points. It's a shame to see the debut of Texi be plagued by this problem, but it's the way it goes sometimes. It's just the way of sim racing. You can't escape it. Everyone has it, and we'll try and investigate and fix it for them, ready for the next race. And it's still currently a brilliant effort from Terrence right now, holding on. And look at that. Absolutely incredible. With the battery as well to have an advantage. That is brilliant stuff. Now, maybe I'm thinking, are the tyres really that dead? I don't know. It's an interesting one. Yesterday we saw, well, some accident confirmed. About lap 4, lap 5, the medium tyre runners of Zingy and Nifojan, that's when they started to kind of start dropping off a little bit, and then it got harder later on into the stint, but they just couldn't make the move because it was Singapore. Now Terrence is still holding on nice and strong as we're on lap 11, and maybe I'm thinking, okay, well, if my theory is correct, well, Terrence should have the advantage in the very late stages and will have the advantage, but maybe, just maybe, Verf will just have a severe advantage towards the end at the beginning of the stint, and that will be enough to break away. I don't know. At the moment, Terrence is doing exactly everything correctly and allowing themselves to hold on to the back of the arguably faster compound of tyre at this stage of the race, and they'll be losing a minimal amount of time on this tyre. So, yeah, this is exactly what they need to be doing. Ideally for them, they want to try and be ahead to prevent Verf from really making any more progress. There's the signs of the tyres dropping off, as you see at the exit of the hairpin. Terrence getting a bit of oversteer, but they are currently doing a very good job at the moment. We're going to get some battling. I think it's going to be side by side through turn 7. There's contact as Zora goes off the circuit. Are they going to try and send it back to the inside? That's never going to work, surely. Space is left by Rare Winter. Rare Winter's going to hold on and take the racing line. They got a time penalty just a moment ago. It's going to be Zora trying to go to the inside line. Is that ever going to work? There's contact between the two. There is contact once again. They've got to try and keep their cool and continue in this race, but the championship contender is not happy. The Canadian is trying to make their way through, but it's not so easy to get past the Red Bull around a tight street circuit like this. DRS may have even been enabled just there for Rare Winter on the Ghost car. I'm not entirely sure, but that is Zora once again very, very close and ready to try and do something about it. Terrence ready to try and do something about Verf if they can do it. They almost had a look, but no, they back off and they stay behind for now. And of course, the McLarens are doing what they need to do as well. There's no battery in either of these cars at the moment. There's DRS available for Zora though. Would they try and have a go into turn 1? It would be a little bit silly to do so, as they'll get a very clear opportunity into turn 7 to do this. There's a big moment there from Winter on the brakes, and there's contact just marginally between these guys. They've got to be careful that it doesn't happen too much again. DRS available for Zora though, and they'll have a very nice opportunity to make it side by side into turn 7. It should be available. We saw these guys go at it this time last lap earlier on, but Zora will not get close enough this time to actually make that move. They'll not be close enough to go to the inside at turn 8 either, and they'll have to stay behind. They can't afford to cut that curve too much more either as well. They've got to definitely think about that one. So that battle is not over, but calming down a little bit for now as these guys try and save a bit of battery. But Zora's all of a sudden very, very close into this late stage of the lap. They don't opt to go for the inside line into the hairpin, but they are effectively pushing Winter through the corners as they're just trying to avoid contact. They're going to go to the outside line as it is available. Are they really going to try and stick it? They do try and stick it. Space is going to be left from Winter, and now it's a drag race down to the line, into the final chicane, to the inside line, actually into the slipstream, but they will not have a go on the brakes, will Zora. That is going to be Terrence, P5, going into the pit lane and exiting ahead of Heischler. A brilliant effort right now. 2 seconds. They've got 5-lap fresher tyres compared to the Alpine as well, and they've got 14 seconds to Brenner's call, so they're not going to need to worry about any dirty air. They're just going to have to focus on where they are relative to Verve and not get any time penalties to give themselves the best chance of this race victory. Absolutely phenomenal stuff right here. Now we're going to go back to this battle as we go down the DRS straight. Will Zora have another go? It's defensive throws for Winter. It's the outside line opted for Zora. Now they've got the outside line to choose again. Will they try and brake later? They won't, but they're going to lose it on the rear as the brake bias is not their friend. And unfortunately, Zora's attack is going to once again be compromised, this time by their own accord. Very frustrating stuff as a driver at a street circuit. You just can't do anything about it and you have to wait. It's going to be Bredder's call and Jericho Willis switching as Jericho. He leads the way into the pit lane, so he gets priority. Actually looked like they were having an issue on pit entry as they're going very slow. Don't know if there was an actual issue or not, but it's going to be the hard tyre as a straightforward decision, and they will come out behind Heischler, will come out, I assume, behind Tom Robb, as Tom Robb and Heischler have actually switched, and there is a bit of a gap in between them as well, so Tom losing that position at some point that we unfortunately did miss. They've also lost a bit of an end plate on the left hand side as well, so that would explain it, but they're still in this race more importantly, and they can still try and get a good result for their race. There you go. I've found the word. It was an underwhelming word, but it was a word. Now we're going to have look at making a few words up for this battle here as it continues. ERS is being used as there's a bit more available this time for Zora. They should be able to get a bit closer side by side into turn 7. The outside line, will it be available? But no, the Red Bull once again closes the door and Zora can't find a way through, and they just have to let it happen, as that was a pretty good defensive throw, and that's an offensive throw there from Zora, but it's not going to work out. That was a massive risk, and I'm glad that they didn't brake late enough to make that work, because if they broke a little bit later, that would have gone horribly wrong. The inside line, would it really be considered from Zora? I think it was the last few laps it would possibly be. There's once again a little bit of contact between these two as they're so close together, but now it's once again a ERS saving game for the Aston Martin to try and give themselves another opportunity at making this move work. It's pushy and shovey. As of now, it's worked out okay. It's not ideal. It's Bredder's call into the pit lane and Jericho Willis looking to try and get an undercut on their teammate. Not intentionally, it's just the way it goes when you are teammates. It's going to be Zora getting a time penalty as they follow behind Jericho Willis, as they do get ahead eventually of Bredder's call, as Bredder's call was actually not that far away at all. They've had a phenomenal in-lap, has the Englishman. That is a brilliant job. The Brit, I should say. a lovely, lovely outlap has allowed them to get straight back into DRS and lose minimal time. And with that little bit of a time penalty, they can still work together nicely with their teammate without worrying about the championship of Jericho. I think Brother School still wants to have a go at the championship themselves, to be honest. It's going to be very, very close to contact. It's going to be contact on the exit of 8. Zora's not happy losing the car. They're still in this race. They should not give up. They've not got any damage, but it was very, 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 very difficult right there as the battle continues. In the meantime, Verf hasn't made a pit stop. Neither has Sir Maxon. They don't need to on this strategy, so they continue on their way. But it's 23 seconds with Terence and Verf. Terence is trying to make a little bit of a gap or progress into the gap that they currently have between Verf and themselves, because it is in their best interest. They've got pressure from Heichler behind, who is on some fairly fresh tyres as well. So if they can try and work together with the higher tier driver, then that could definitely be beneficial to their race. It's going to be Zora, who's nice and close, as it's actually going to be a switch up right there, as I don't quite know what was going on, but Rare Winter doesn't stay ahead, and now Zora has an opportunity to be ahead. And would they be able to do enough? I don't quite know. A mistake there from the Aston Martin. They're going to have to behave, and they're going to have to get the DRS again and try and make it work. There's a lot of battery in that Red Bull at the moment. DRS, ERS is being used. They should have enough to give a very good fight here into turn 7. Should be their strongest attempt yet. It's going to be so close though. Once again, the outside line is closed off very aggressively. The inside line is now available for Zora. There's a bit of a bang. Oh, there's more bangs. It's going to be the outside line, but it's going to be braking late and contact with the wall. Surely they both avoid the wall. Just Rare Winter and Zora. It's a bit over the line, all a little bit too much. Zora makes contact once again, losing the rear end, and I hope that they didn't get any damage. It's so close. There's contact again. Zora's got to try and be a little bit more cautious on the brakes. If they just broke a little bit earlier and focused on the exits, they might have a chance. They're going to have a chance to the outside line. They're going to try and make it side by side, and it's going to be side by side. And we get a repeat from a few laps ago, a drag race into the final chicane, pushing them all the way to the inside line to try and compromise their line, but Rare Winter will be there. It's the inside line for Zora. Absolutely phenomenal, and on the exit they surely have it, but they don't. They back off and they opt for the DRS, as they were side by side, and they can do so. DRS again. Turn 1 is going to be their choice of attack this time around, and I think that's going to be a pretty straightforward move. No, it's going to be Rare Winter trying to have a go, but they do eventually back off, and now Zora does have the advantage, but it's side by side again, and it is a DRS game, as Zora once again wants to opt to have the DRS and try and make a move. Again, it's going to be an opportunity. This time it's even stronger. This time it's the inside line for the Canadian. There's contact as they go into the braking zone, into the wall, and rounds. That was very, very, very unnecessary right there. No damage to Zora, but damage to Rare Winter, as there is a big chunk missing on their wing. I don't quite know what was going on into the braking zone. They make contact and then it just goes horribly wrong. That's lag there for Rare Winter, as they will ghost, and it will allow Zora to go for the move. Not ideal to do it under lag. There's more lag, and that is going to be Zora into the wall. I don't know if that was desync actually, because that was strange how the Red Bull jumped that way, and they've lagged again. So I think there may be desync. I hope there's no more attempts to try and take out, and that was very disappointing. Well, that happens. Hopefully there's no safety car. I do apologise for this happening, guys. We will get this sorted, ready for next race. But yeah, a battle that was very on the limit, was still quite crazy, but it has ended in tears in the end, and it will end up in pit stops for both of these drivers as well. Although Rare Winter tries to stay out and race on their own. Zora into the pit lane. That's that one done. Zora retires and will not score any points. Terence still has Heichler behind them at the moment, and Terence is trying to give this campaign their best chance yet to get their second ever victory in LSI. And actually, Verf is trying to get their second ever victory in LSI as well. They've almost won multiple races. They almost won the Dutch Grand Prix. They almost won a couple of races last season, but they just missed out, unfortunately, until they got to the final race of the season in Silverstone. They wanted to win their home Grand Prix in Hungary. It didn't happen, but they got it a little bit later on in that final race in round 12, of course. Now they're trying to go for the second one again. Terence won a fair few seasons ago back in Belgium, and they're now trying to make it work here in Singapore under the lights. What a circuit it would be to get a victory. What two circuits it would be to get victories. Singapore and Belgium. And actually, what two circuits to get victories for Verf. Silverstone and Singapore. Absolutely prestigious circuits to do such a feat, but we'll see how that works, of course. So Maxon currently leads the way, and they don't need to go into the pit lane at all because they've got such a gap. They can just focus on staying out and using these tyres to their full extent. There's no point of risking anything, of course. If a safety car was to happen, then they could lose out. So they're just trying to stay ahead for now. It's going to be very close as Heischler wants to maybe have a go, but they're not quite in a good position to do it. In the meantime, Joko Willis and Bredis Cool have switched positions, and I don't know if that was a mistake or if it was just a switch up anyway, but that's how that one goes. We've got Rare Winter, who is out on track at the moment. They go through turn 7. We just want to double check they didn't go into the pit lane, did they? Because they are on those old tyres still, but they continue on their way. Jericho Willis holds on to DRS of their teammate, but it's not looking so straightforward. They've got to try and focus here. It's going to be Samakton into the pit lane, and it's going to be Samakton holding on to that P1 quite comfortably. It's going to be Verf catching up to the DRS of Heischler and Terence. Alrighty, it's very close. It is very close. Verf wants to have a go. They're putting pressure on Heischler. Heischler has to then go on the attack to try and maintain the position, but it didn't quite work out. It's now going to be Verf going through, and Heischler not willing to get involved in such a battle and cause an incident, easily backs out and doesn't try to fight Verf. Verf now has a clear opportunity at getting to Terence. Now, they have been held up a little bit whilst being on this medium tyre. Terence has to put a bit of a masterclass defence on here, and they are doing a decent job at the moment, but they don't need to do too much in this middle part of the circuit, of course, because of the close walls and it being so difficult to overtake. Heischler watches the battle up ahead at the moment as Verf has a go. It's now going to be a brilliant opportunity on the straight, on the battery, and Terence, I don't think, is going to fight it too hard. They're going to let that one happen, and Verf regains the lead of the Grand Prix as a current tier driver. That is a brilliant effort right there. 3.7 seconds in the meantime. So Maxon lost a significant amount of time by staying out that long, but it wasn't enough to really cause them any troubles, and they have some brilliant tyres on that car to take them to the end of the Grand Prix as well. So this will be a very dominant win as of now, without any safety cars. That's exactly what they're hoping for. They hope it's going to be a clean one. Verf, Terence, Heischler also hoping for it to be a clean one from this point onwards as well. Heischler just letting this battle happen as they don't want to get involved too much. Terence has got to try and stay on to the DRS range of Verf to prevent that medium tyre runner from running away, no pun intended, too much. So that's what their aim is at the moment, and then hope that the drop-off later on the medium is enough to bring them back into it. There's not that many laps of this Grand Prix remaining, about 8 laps I should say actually. No, that's not 9, that's 9.5, is that correct? I don't quite know. I will probably be corrected eventually. 9.5 laps or so in this race. So it's a decent amount, but 4 lap old tyres, you're going to add a few more on. They're not going to be that worn, so they could be good to go. But if Terrence can just hold on, get that DRS down the start-finish straight, it might be enough to hold it for the main DRS straight. But did they do it? 9/10. It's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight. I think Terrence did it. They do open the wing on the rear of the Haas. It brings them back a couple tenths, but I don't think it's powerful enough as we were really thinking it would be to bring them back into it. Maybe if Verf has a mistake, it will allow them to hold on. And actually, Terrence has done it. Terrence has got the DRS once again and will get a phenomenal tow down to turn 7. I think this is going to be the last of their DRS, but it is still going to be a phenomenal amount, and that is awesome right there for Terrence's race. 9/10 it's brought back to. It is going to be the final DRS for a while, but they have minimised their time loss, of course, on the initial phase of this hard tyre compound compared to that medium tyre. Will their advantage later on play a key role in bringing them back into this race? Will they be able to take their second victory and redeem the curse, or end the curse of the Singapore Grand Prix for themselves? Could we see Verf get redemption from last time around, where they debuted here and got the pole but didn't get that victory on the strategy? This time the strategy's been pretty flawless. They've just got to try and avoid any time penalties, and they can make it work. We've got Heischler, who wants to possibly have a go on DRS if they can, but they've got to make sure again that they just prevent themselves from causing a negative impact in this race, of course. So they've just got to race their own race at this stage and allow Terrence and Verf to do their own things. 1.5, 1.4. Verf is using this medium tyre to its full advantage as they can, but they don't have long until that tyre does start to drop off. Of course, there is a bit of a tyre difference now, so it does give Verf that little bit of extra advantage, and it might be enough for them to hold on that little bit longer. Terrence will still be the faster car on the final laps regarding tyre wear, but it will still be a difficult one for them to catch up. I really don't know which way it's going to go. It's going to be so 50-50. It's going to be so close. That's the full safety car. That is Rare Winter DNFing, and unfortunately I missed it. I was looking away from the screen momentarily. That brings everyone bunched up together. Exactly what I said these guys didn't want to happen. And oh my word, Jericho Willis, from being at the back of the pack on lap 1, is now going to have no time penalties and an opportunity to fight for victory here in Singapore. So Maxon goes to the pit lane. Verf has a few seconds to react, to try and maybe have a look at going for the same tyre as that car, but the tyre selection process is a little bit different in this game compared to others, so they would have had to select it earlier on. So Maxon goes to that medium tyre. That would be the smart one to do, but we could see some changes. It's going to be Heischler going to the soft, it's going to be Terrence going to the soft, and Verf will go to that medium. In my opinion, the medium tyre's the safer bet. Would Terrence be able to pull this one off? On the soft tyre, it's gonna be tough. There's not long in this race, and they do have a couple of laps or so to be able to prevent any extra or unnecessary tyre wear on that soft to make it as fresh as possible all the way to the end. It could work out. It could work out, but it's going to be so tough. Tom Robb looking to go and get some fresh tyres, but unfortunately speeds into the pit lane on entry. That's not going to make their race any easier. They do also go for the soft tyre. It's softs for Brothers Call, but Jericho Willis goes for the expected tyre as well with the medium. This race is very much alive. We are slightly slower on track at the moment under the yellow flags, but it brings everyone together for a final opportunity. Looking at the time penalty situation, we've got 16 seconds for Tom Rob, a 10-second for speeding, and 2 track limit 3-second time penalties, making that 6. And then we've got 3 seconds for both Breda's Call and Heischler. As Breda's Call passes Heischler, I don't know what happened there. I think that's more lag between these guys. So, not ideal, but it is what it is. And I don't think they have an opportunity to really bring it back. They're trying to stay to the Delta and do what they can. Obviously, it would be the considerate thing to give the position back, but at the moment, with what the game's showing us, it's a bit of a difficult one. Heischler, oh actually, okay, that would explain it. They're actually going off to allow all the current tier drivers to go through. They will drop back with Tom Rob and then start the race from the back of the pack. Jericho Willis and Breda's Call now P4 and 5, catching up to Terence and Verf. Terence and Verf are going to be pretty disappointed with that one. They were probably hoping that Heischler would be in between the both two McLarens. The teams and drivers championship leaders, of course, with Jericho Willis, of course, not having any time penalties to their name. They are a big threat in this race to Verf and Terence, the current contenders for this victory. Now, Breda's Call with that time penalty, they do have to, of course, consider that one into their race, and it would make it slightly more straightforward for Terence and Verf to stay ahead of them. But, with that being said, the two McLarens are teammates after all, and they can work together nicely, so it would possibly be enough, or be something that they can use to get either Jericho Willis ahead or use Breda's Call as a very aggressive overtaker. Of course, without causing any incidents, that's the important part. Currently, 7 drivers in this race with a disconnected Texi from earlier on, not completing a single lap in this race after having issues in qualifying. And then we've got the higher tier drivers of Heischler, Tom Rob, and Sir Maxon, who leads the way, and they will be taking the safety car restart. I don't believe we'll be going green flag racing just this time around. It will be on the next lap to make it a lap 28 restart. So we'll have 4 laps of the Grand Prix as long as we don't go racing this time around. It's not impossible to get a very late call, so we do have to watch out. I think Sir Maxon is preempting it as they drop back from the safety car, but realising as we get to the final chicane already, it probably isn't going to happen. I've seen crazier things before where the safety car does pull in to that pit lane. It was the very last second, but it does stay out, and we will get that 28 lap restart. So 4 laps of the Grand Prix, 1 lap without DRS, 3 laps with it. So Maxon leads the way, Verf in P2, Terence in P3. Higher tier driver is, of course, Sir Maxon. Verf and Terence, the current F1.5 EU drivers, and they are looking to try and get their first or second victories ever in LSI. Breda's Call. Would things go drastically right for them? Look for their first victory. Would Jericho Willis look for their 3rd victory in their career? They've won 2 races themselves. Of course, getting the double so far this season, 100% win rate. Verf, it would be a massive shame to not get a victory so far after getting 3 poles out of 3 races in this season. It's the way it goes sometimes. It's the way it goes. So Maxon will be leading the safety car restart, and we will get that confirmation as we just cross the sector line. So we will watch on board with Pole, who has been very strong in their tier this season. They were very strong yesterday. It didn't go quite so well. They're now just trying to make sure that they win for the second time in LSI F1.5 in Singapore, but just as a higher tier driver this time. They're looking for that overall victory, of course. The safety car comes around the final few corners, and they can go at any point when they want to now. So Maxon leads the way. It's Verf to react. When are they going to go for it? And they go for it right there. It's a brilliant reaction time for Verve. It's not a good reaction time for Terrence. And Terrence is going to lose out 7/10. Will this soft tyre bring them back into it? Or is that the difference? Is that the difference? A really poor restart right there from the Haas car. Not a great restart from Jericho Willis or Brett is cool. Brett is cool loses a massive gap. But it's Jericho Willis down the order with damage on the right end plate. What on earth happened there with Jericho Willis? Oh, what a shame for the championship leader to see more issues in the same race. I do not believe what I'm seeing. Lucky, unlucky, they've had everything in this race, and it's just not worked out when it needed to work out. Verf, P2, did everything that they needed to do, and now, well, Terrence, they didn't do everything they needed to do, but they're doing everything that they need to do now to bring them back into this race, to give them the best chance at fighting for this victory. They've just given themselves a little bit of extra work to do by not quite reacting too well to that restart, of course. They have to try and lock in and make these soft tyres work whilst they can, because they're not going to last forever. They just need to make sure that they secure that DRS for the end. Brett is cool. They've got two higher tier drivers right behind them. Of course, all these guys have time penalties, 3 seconds for both Brett and Heischler. It is a 16-second time penalty or a 6-second time penalty for Tom Robb, as they served that 10-second in the pit lane just a few moments ago. So Maxon makes it the fastest lap of the Grand Prix and are likely to hold on to that fastest lap. It's going to be Tom Robb to the inside line of Heischler, and they will just continue to fight each other. It's going to be off the circuit for Heischler, who also has damage on that car. Was there maybe a coming together with Jericho Willis and Heischler? Could that be what happened there? I don't quite know. That's another time penalty for Tom Robb. They're still going to try and have a look at going for the move on the McLaren to try and make it work. Is it going to work? I don't quite know. But also, as they do make that move, it's not so simple. It's not is the inside line for Brett is cool, but it's nothing more than just the inside line. It's not working out for Terrence, who was just 1 second behind from Verf, but Verf may be making a mistake or something, I'm not entirely sure, has brought Terrence back into this. 6/10. They haven't got long. They haven't got long to make this move, and they have to make this move. They have to get that DRS, and they have to be close to try and make the move on the DRS. And once they're ahead, maybe, just maybe, being ahead is enough to get the victory here in Singapore, in a street circuit where it's so difficult to pass, even with damage, as we have seen. If you've got damage, you can still hold on in the streets. Will it work out? Can Terrence do it on the slightly disadvantaged tyres when it gets to it, of course? DRS available, not for Verf. It is a clear opportunity here for Terrence to catch up that little bit that they need to do when they get to the final lap here on the next time around. We are on the penultimate one. This is for the victory for the current tier. So Maxon, a higher tier driver, looking to try and take their second victory in a row, and they will be having a very good shot at doing so. Terrence catches up massively, and they will be in attacking range. You can see Verf is trying to save up the battery for the final lap now. Terrence has also got a lot to spare. They are focusing on that final lap, and it is going to be crunch time when it gets to it. Tom Robb is ahead as Heischler and Brett is cool are very close to one another as they try and squabble for position, and they do eventually get there. But it's Jericho Willis who goes back into the pit lane, and they're looking to get the fastest lap over the current tier drivers to get one one extra point. They know that the disconnected car of Texi is going to be their free position anyway, so they can do this. Oh no, Terence is round. Terence is round on lap 30 of 31. I do not believe what I've seen. After a brilliant performance, it's all gone wrong with just a lap and a half to go, and there's no end plates on that Haas car. It's P6. It is P6. They're gonna get a promotion of a couple positions, and they would actually end up finishing on the podium still, which is a phenomenal result. But what could have been? What could have been? Oh no. What a shame for Terence right there, with a performance that we've not seen in a long time. It was Terence that we've seen before, and we got to see it in very good fashion. Unfortunately, it's not going to make it to the end of the Grand Prix. Well, it is going to make it to the end of the Grand Prix, but just in a few positions less than we would have hoped for. What a shame. What a shame for Terence right there. But what a brilliant drive so far from Verth. They've still got a few more corners to go to try and confirm this as a redemption arc from last time around. Is it going to work out for the Hungarian driver? They're a permanent driver for Sauber now, and they're really trying to make it work for their championship campaign. Is it going to be maybe a look at getting the championship lead in a matter of races with the strong start to the season that Jericho Willis had? I don't think it's going to matter in the end. For this time, Verth will be able to make a massive points haul on their rival. 40 points for Jericho Willis, 28 points, a 12-point difference, but now 20 points here. 20 points would be absolutely amazing, and it would be 10, 12 points for Jericho Willis. So Maxon takes victory in Singapore overall, but it's Verth who gets redemption in Singapore and wins in Singapore. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Their second victory in a row, second victory ever, and it's going to be Heichler to P3 ahead of Tom Robb. Brediscoll's going to make it P2 in the end to bring at least a podium here for McLaren. A brilliant effort from them despite that time penalty. It's going to be Terence who finishes P6, and it's going to be Jericho Willis who rears off the grid in the end after such a tough weekend for them. But that is a brilliant job, and Brediscoll is right there. But what a shame for Terence. They still get the P3 for the current tier drivers, but he is not going to be happy with that one. Verth, though, absolutely awesome. Kept it cool. This time without a time penalty, as we saw, of course, in the Netherlands and in Austria. And just if they don't get a time penalty, then things can definitely change for them. And that's what we have seen today. Sauber make it the top step of the podium for the EU drivers. It's Sir Maxon who wins, of course. And we'll go through the results now. So Maxon wins with a fastest lap, Verth in P2. Then we've got Brediscoll, Tom Robb, Terence Texi, and Jericho Willis finishing off the order, with Texi, of course, disconnecting from the race as well. DNFing was not Heichler, as they finished just ahead of Tom Robb there. I don't know if they finished ahead of Brediscoll. I can't quite remember. Anyway, Rare Winter DNFing and Zora earlier on in the race. The race director is on your screen right now. And then we will be back in a bit for the post-race interviews. There is everything on the screen. We will see you in a few moments' time. I'll just go through this one more time just to double check and make sure that it is all here, because it is quite important. But yeah, of course, Heichler's position isn't exactly correct right there, but it's the way it goes sometimes with the game bugs. We'll see you in a bit for the post-race interviews. Hello everyone, welcome to the post-race interviews of the Singapore Grand Prix. That was a pretty crazy one in the end, Verth taking the win, of course, right there. Heitschler, we start with you. That was definitely an interesting one, of course, as a higher tier driver. You're trying to stay out of the battles for the most part. Can you take us through your race?
Yeah, I've done this before. I try something different in strategy in these kind of races, so I just get a little bit of knowledge. So I decided to start on the softs and go to the hards quite quickly. And now I did it. I feel like it actually works somewhat. So that's interesting. The softs weren't that bad for me. They didn't drop off after 5 laps like the mediums did for some reason. Yeah, people say that the softs and the mediums fall off quickly, but I never had that problem in like the race of today and yesterday, so I don't know how that's possible. Maybe I'm just better on those tires.
So confirms for Monza that your strategy will be starting on the softs?
Monza is a completely different track, to be honest. So that's no, I don't think I will, because the rears will even more on that track than on this track. So it's not ideal to use softs there. But yeah, I try to stay out somewhat of the battles. I made a few mistakes, but especially in turn 6. That left-hander, is that 6?
Turn 6 is turn 7 is left-hander. Turn 6 is the right-hand kink on the straight.
Ah, okay, then turn 7. If you missed my braking point a few times there, so sorry to anyone that was involved in that one. Yeah, I've talked with people where I thought I was somewhat intervening them, and they said it's all good, so that's nice to hear. And yeah, I try to have fun where I could and get the knowledge where I can, and P3 in the end with that strategy, with that race, I think is fine.
Indeed, indeed. All right, thank you very much, Heitschler, and we'll see you next time. Really good effort today.
Thank you.
And we move on to Jericho Willis. Jericho, well, qualifying on the front row, then the race went from good to worse, then it kind of got better, and then it kind of just went downhill again. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see what happened on the safety car restart, so you have to tell us that one, but can you go through your race, of course?
I had to try to get up to speed quickly today, as I was out of town this week, and so just got to touch the game this morning and try to get up to speed. So I knew it was going to be a challenge, but qualifying went okay. Underperformed by a few tenths, but Verth had plenty of pace in hand there, so that was P2 was good. I was actually very happy with P2. All things considered, and then started the race with the tire advantage on Verth. I was able to be on the inside, and then I gave them too much room, and it compromised my line and made it very difficult with the cold rear tires to get on the power. So just kind of lost the rear, and that kind of made the race difficult from there. But managed to kind of focus up and get in some good laps, kind of get back. Brett and I, the McLarens, we were working together there for the majority of the race to try to just kind of pull each other along, whoever had the better pace, and that was working quite well. Kind of got ourselves back into a decent position, and then we had talked about what could happen near the end of the race before we started today, and said, yeah, there probably is going to be a late safety car, just highly likely with how tiring this track is and the way the tires can start to go off late in a stint. And sure enough, there was a late safety car. I think it might have been Rare Winter had an issue, and that came out. So that was good. That brought everyone together. I opted for the new mediums over a used pair of softs. And, as we spent a few extra laps or a couple extra laps behind the safety car, that strategy kind of went away a little bit. So it was going to be difficult after that. But I think there was some confusion between Verth and Samaxon, and I don't know who else, maybe Terrence. And they just hammered on the brakes. And then so Brett responded to them, and my response time wasn't quick enough. So I bumped Brett and it broke my front wing. And so with the tire disadvantage to the guys in front of me and a broken wing, I decided to just kind of stay out of that fight. Hit to get a new wing, get soft tires, and to go for the fastest lap of the race. And I'm pretty sure out of my tier, I ended up achieving that. So that was a small victory on I think, anyway, I'll have to double check it, or you guys probably checked it already, but I think I got fastest lap in the end. So an extra point for that. So I knew it was going to be a difficult day. Happy to come away with a few points. Sometimes it's how you do on the tough days that really matter, when you're working towards a championship. So keeping my head in it and not just, DNFing or quitting and saying, hey, let's stop, get a wing, get some tires and focus for one more lap and see if we can get an extra point for that. And so got to be happy for that. And I think what Brett ended up getting second, I think, in the current tier. So really, really good for him. That was great. He had great pace the whole race, and good points for McLaren. So congratulations to him, and that's a great result for the team, making up for a little bit of my lousy day. So yeah, there you go.
Not lousy at all, because you stayed in it and you gave it a good shot, of course. Brett is cool, getting the 2 P2s in a row now, and you continue to extend your championship lead in the team's championship with the fastest lap. I believe you got, I will have to double check myself as well, but I believe you got that fastest lap. That does mean that there's a 7-point gain for Verth. You are still, if I'm correct in saying, is that 5 or 6 points ahead. Are you confident for Monza? Do you think you can get another victory here, or in this season?
In Monza, I think it's possible. Monza's all about the DRS games, and so that takes a lot of strategy. And but that worked out pretty well for me in Austria. And today, actually, I was able to stay clean with no penalties. So that's a big one too. If you can stay clean with no penalties in Monza and do well with the DRS games, those are two things that go together to really give you a chance at being on that top step. So that's what we'll try to do. I think my pace is decent there. I should be in the fight in the end. So if we can stay clean and put together a strategy in those last couple of laps, I think it's possible.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Well said. Good, strong result for the team, and well done for being strong to stay in this one as well and score those points that you needed. So, yep, really well done. Even though it's not what you wanted, still congratulations to get the points, and we'll see you next time. Well done.
All right, thank you.
And we move on to Samaxon. Samaxon, well, you've won the F1.5 EU Championship Singapore Grand Prix 2 times in a row now. That was pretty nice.
Oh. No, I thought you were also saying something else. I mean, something more. Yes, a good race for me. Started last, then I slowly made my way up through to the front. Had a little contact with Heish on the lap 1, which I'm sorry about. And then when I was with the top 3, I overtook Terrence and then overtook Verve and was just driving with my own pace till the pits. Then I was still ahead by 5 seconds. Another safety car came out. And at the restart, I think Verve thought that I already went full throttle, but I didn't, so he had to brake a little, and this created a chain reaction that I think took more front wings than it should have. And then just trying to get out of DRS of Verve to not interfere with the top 2 in the not in the championship, the top 2 fighting. And driving to the end with, I think, 3 seconds.
Indeed. And yeah, it was a good one for you, despite, of course, the safety car that took away the gap that you had. And this time it was a little bit more straightforward, I guess you could say, compared to last time around with the weather and the strategy that played a part in that one. Really well done today, very clean indeed. Monza, do you think you can do well there? Do you think it could go like it did today in F1.5, but in the F1 tier?
No, definitely this won't be as easy as today.
It will be a tough one. Well, thank you very much, Sir Maxon. Really good effort today. Well done indeed. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Terence. Terence, I don't know what to say. That such a good drive until the last 1.5 laps, where it just went all down the drain. You've got a podium. You've still got a podium, and I think you can be happy with that one. And you broke the curse of a DNF around here. Do you think that if that mistake didn't happen, and you were able to be in DRS with Verth on the last lap, do you think you would have been able to go for the lead and win the race?
That's a tough question, I think. Sorry.
No problem.
I think it's very tough. Because he was on mediums and I'm in soft, which was about 20% tire wear in rear right, so it would be very tough. I think because I saved the battery, I don't know. I don't know if he did also, but if he did, I have no chance for the victory. But if he have no battery, I think I could get it. It is pretty shame on the second last lap to have that incident. But I think overall the first 29 laps of the race is pretty good. I feel comfortable with the setup, except qualifying. Never been that front since season 9 Belgium. So is that season 9 or season 10? Whatever.
I think it's season 9.
Oh, okay. So it's very. I feel comfortable, but I also feel very nervous on taking someone else out or someone else taking me out. So just try to drive very gently. Everything on attacking or defending or conserving on the tires. So I think that's why my medium stint is pretty good. While the medium should be degrading after 5 laps. That was the thing he did, and I believe in him, you know. And so I'm very curious that why I can keep up the pace with Verth. But obviously I have DRS help, so yeah, I don't know. But yeah, also weird that I have better cornering pace in third year, so I think overall it's a good play. It's a good race, but the last 2 laps didn't count it. Okay.
Yeah, it definitely leaves it to a question of what could have been, but I do have to say, on that medium tyre, you were kind of defying everyone's expectation, despite everybody thinking that the tyre would drop off and you'd have no chance. You did a very good job, regardless of whether you had DRS or not, so really well done for that one. It's great to see you back up the front, and I am, of course, sorry to see that happen, but if you think about it, if I told you before the race started you're going to get a P3, I'm sure you'd have been pretty happy with a podium. Do you think you can maybe find another good setup for Monza and maybe make it another podium and then also have a look at fighting for the victory?
Yeah, I think because my setup always have more downforce than anyone else, so need to see how the strategy works in the next Grand Prix. I think I would be good the next race because the history or the hand feeling told me Monza is a good track because it have very less corner. So I can I think I can do good on straight. I think everyone can do good on straight. So let's see.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I can't wait. But what I'll say is, unlucky on the final few laps, but congratulations on the podium, and more importantly, congratulations on breaking the DNF curse around Singapore. Terence, you did a very good job today, and you should be happy with that one. Thank you very much, and great effort.
Thank you.
And we move on to the final one. Tom, that was a tough one, time penalty-wise. You served it at the end, and you were back in the race, but can you take us through your race? There was a fair few wing changes there.
Yeah, like first of all, I have to say Reich had a incredible pace in the quali on the wet tire. He beat Maxon and myself by like a second. Yeah, and then the race maybe pushed a bit too hard in the start. I'm a bit sorry, especially for Winter, if I made a bit trouble for him. And then Reich and I were just driving on our own at the beginning of the pit stop, and I was just teasing him quite a bit. Yeah, made one small contact with the wall afterwards, which was a bit annoying. But yeah, I had quite a lot of fun. Kept teasing Reichler, which was also really fun because he was so annoyed. Yeah. Everything what I wanted was having fun with Reich and the Maxon. We've got it, and that's everything I need for Saturday races.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, well done on that side. Obviously, you said yesterday you won't be here for Monza. Imola, it's the same country, but a very, very different circuit. Do you think you can do well there?
Imola is, like you said, quite different and difficult circuit, I would say. Especially in this game with the track limit problems there. It's quite hard to keep 0 seconds of penalty or at maximum 3 seconds because you have to attack the curbs quite hard and you get a penalty so early. Yeah, also with the setups, it's quite easy to get them slightly wrong and you are missing just a lot of pace. I hope I can get a setup, can get some practice in, but I have to see how my schedule allows me to train. But I hope I can at least finish in a somewhat decent region with less penalties than today.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you've got a few weeks to prepare for that one, of course, with the break week and, of course, missing next race. So you've actually got, well, for you, the race won't be for, what was that, 3 weeks? So, yeah, you've got plenty of time for that. And thank you very much. Sorry for that on the stream there. I just quickly muted the mic. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much for that one, Tom. And, yeah, well done today. And we move on to the end of the stream. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will see you next time around in Monza for the final race before the first break. That was absolutely awesome. We'll see you then. Monza's going to be amazing. Bye-bye.